Hello, this is Jon Gottshall. I'm showing you some places here that I think are interesting. Where we're standing here is the old Collinsville Cemetery, and this is all that remains of the town of Collinsville that used to be at this location. We're right by Pleasant Valley Boulevard here, and at one time, before Altoona was around, this was the town around here, Collinsville, and this belongs to the Lutheran church. There used to be a really old church right here where the auto body store is now. But the church was here back in the 1970s when I was a kid. I remember driving by it and being intrigued because of its old crumbly nature. Anyway, here we are at the cemetery, and yeah, this was founded in 1843. There are a number of Civil War veterans buried here. And there probably are also people here who actually lived in Collinsville. As you can see by some of the headstones here, marble was a really common material that they used for headstones, and unfortunately over time marble really wears away. It almost melts. Like you can see here, it's really hard to read them, but it looks really good when it's new. Anyway, there's been a number of attempts to restore the cemetery here. You can see tombstones that had fallen down and become completely buried were located, and they've been set up against these trees here. Unfortunately, so many of them have become separated from the original grave location. There may not be any way to really tell where they exactly go, but you can still look at them and see, the person was buried in this general area. Anyway, it's kind of a gloomy day right now. Anyway, here we are toward the back of the cemetery here. Again, the old church was to the left of where I'm standing. A number of these, you can see they've been cleaned, which is good. That makes them a little bit easier to read. Some of these, I can't see them here, but some of the tipped over ones, you can actually, the name of the person who carved the headstone is actually like at the bottom. And when it was put in, that part would be underground, so you wouldn't see it. There's one over here where you can actually see the name of the person who made the thing. Now see, you can see this part of the stone would actually be below the ground. And so here we see the letter M, and then Mason, and then Altoona underneath it. So that's the person who did the headstone here. Of course, since it got tipped over and then placed back here, then you can see that. Yeah, unfortunately, it's easier to have them laying on the ground like this. For preservation, it's actually better to do that than to try and stand some of them up where they might break off again and get more damaged. This is sort of the second best. If you do a professional restoration and actually stand it up the right way, it's good. But you can't just pour some cement and then stick it in there, because if you do, the cement will be harder than the material that the headstone is made out of. And when that happens, the headstone is going to snap before the cement gives way. So if you look at some of the tombstones here, probably the last burials here were probably around 1915 from what we can see. And it's, in the years after that, that's when the cemetery became neglected. But, if you look up some of the names of the people buried here, it will show you some of the early history of the area. And anyway, it's been great showing all of this to you, and this is Jon Gottshall from the former Collinsville.